Alright, Dino Navy. Here we are. This is, I didn't do this for the first one because here's my explanation right now. I was gonna do it later, but, I didn't, I didn't think this was the first one. I didn't exactly know already how it was pretty much gonna go before I started. Which is ironic because this one came out a lot faster than the other one. In fact, the other one didn't even come out that fast, or come out. It wasn't even finished, and I was just like, all right, screw it, I'll show it to you anyway. And I found a time. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll just set an hour a day. I'll just be typing and writing and typing, and that got us all the way down here. And even multiple endings, which I actually thought, some, of course, people said, oh, I think I'll like the true ending, or the good ending for good, the best. I put a poll, and, I mean, it was a stupid question, but, people weren't, thing, and I don't know if I said this on the stream. I'm pretty sure I did, but I don't remember, so I'm gonna say it right now. The dogs is, way bigger, so Dixit is 5'11" or something, and the dogs is 10 feet. So imagine having having to fight a creature that's almost double your height. You're cooked. You're absolutely cooked, and that's why the true ending is worse than the bad ending. I mean, either way, it's not that worse, but he had to be killed by the dogs, and the other one, he just shot himself. So yeah. Originally, with the whole original thing, this went through a lot of changes, specifically to the name and what it was about. So, the whole premise, the whole plot changed immediately, which is probably why I had a little clue on what it was going to be about. So Dixit and the Docks. I was originally going to be Dixit, but with no H, and the Daunt. And the Daunt, it would be a completely different, not even a creature, it'd be like a god, and then and it would be one of those gods that had the bones that Subscrite comes from. And that's what I'm there's a whole premise around Subscrite, and in the fourth installment in my trilogy, wait, what was it saying? No, did I say fourth? Okay, whatever. The Dawn, but then I realized, wait a second, I'm gonna get a lot, way too many autocorrect problems. I'm gonna put Daunt, and it's gonna think I'm saying don't. And I'm not saying that, because it's just gonna keep doing it over and over. I know eventually it realizes, oh, so this is a word you made up, and you're trying to have that, kind of like Chromos. Where's Chromos? Oh, Chromos doesn't come from way after. Here's Chromos. Okay, there's Chromos there. Yeah. So I was really okay. I'll change it to Docs. But then again, even if it was called Docs, it was about this a creature or a god that this guy Dixit, who doesn't have a body. I couldn't think of a body. His body probably would have ended up being the same, but basically just to think of his face, his eyes and his mouth, but that's just floating with a purple mist, I guess. I don't know. That's how I pictured it. And then up on a mountain, and there's the docks. Ooh. And he's here to grant 3 wishes, but to teach him a lesson. His wishes aren't going to turn out quite how he thinks. Unless he ends up making it selfless or not selfish. Basically, it was so different than what it actually turned out to be. Oh yeah. Also, you may have noticed, every time someone curses, they're, or what does that sound? Huh? I don't know what the sound effect is, but yeah. Obviously I'm not. That's like, I'm gonna make the story, and that's what they're saying, but I'm not gonna show you saying it. Like, if that makes any sense, you know? Anyway, yeah, so basically the whole premise, and then you'd be like, fine, alright, I learned my lesson, used up all my wishes, but that's fine. And you walk away and be like, wait, did I say 3 wishes? And then he basically gets 4th wish, and he makes it selfless, and they're happily ever after. Wow! Or something, I don't know. Also, here to talk about the second and third that never happened of the P7675Y. That's the official abbreviation. Planet 7675Y. Not really necessary, but if you want to, you can. That's the official abbreviation. Anyway, so once again, I had very little clue on what it would have been about. We're starting on the second one. So, you already had the script, so you know how the whole story of the first one goes. But the actual storyline with quotations and certain details, I picture it to be about half, but I don't really know, maybe less than that. Basically, I never finished that part, but you did get the whole script and the whole storyline. But also, Dixon and Dox didn't have a script. Okay, so basically, it starts off like in a therapy session or something. I don't know. He's like, man, I'm just feeling kind of alone. Like, Draco, he's like not really, with his whole new girlfriend and stuff, I don't know. He's kind of leaving me out. And DP1 in the gang, and then at this point, they would introduce DP1 in the gang, because DP2, DP1, it has to do with some, with the Dino Navy, and there was going to be this one scene I did want to do, and it would have been so good. It'd pretty much be, so the Dino Navy is like a bunch of Zats and Zeolds, and humans and whoever, any other, or snakes, or creepers, all those, wielding the dino puppets, and they are pretty much weapons, but they could also be friends and stuff, and that's what they would use for. It's not just on Borealis, it's sometimes on Australis, but it's obviously not a navy, but it's still called the Navy. The Navy's on the ocean, so that's why. Basically, the whole thing, Siron would end up getting to a point where he'd have to like put on a speech, or like a speech, it'd be a speech, to these like soldiers. They're like all lined up at attention. It's like, all right, I don't know why I'm here. Like, you guys are like why am I some nobody? But then again, he did kill Solar, which you gotta admit. Like, I know my poor storytelling and writing makes it seem like, oh, he punched him dead, alright. But trust me, like, if I could animate well, or like I had a whole team of animators, it would have been sick. But all up in the mind, all up in there, in the good old noggin, the imagination. Okay, basically, I'm not even saying. Okay, he'd be up there. Man, all right, here I am. Hello, Dino Navy. My name is Siron. And I am here to tell you my story about how I killed Solar or something like that. I don't know. I wouldn't. Once again, I don't have the whole thing, but like right at the very end, not at the end of the speech, but like when they're at the departure with the Dino Navy, from the Dino Navy, he's like, all right, I'll see you later, Dino Navy. I wanted to do that, but I couldn't, because I couldn't even finish the first one. Oh, it's just like, you can tell by listening to me. You can tell by listening to me. I just I'm excited telling you guys this because I actually really wanted to, and I don't know why I relied on the poll. Like, of course, that's not. That's why I'm making this video. This video is already 10 minutes. Not that bad. Okay. So that's pretty much the end, and it would end with them finding the one who asked, or which would be revealed in that part. In that is will be Raptimov, his real name. The one who asked, he like as a child he like asked questions, or no, actually wait, I was thinking that's what I thought, right? Is that no? It'd be he'd be in class, someone would say like, "Who asked, dude?" And he'd be like, "I am," even if he wasn't, or "I did," even if he wasn't even part of it. He'd just hear that, and he'd be like, "I did." So yeah, that's why, and then that would have been his nickname, the one who asked, because he always asked. He's the one who asked. Yeah. Anyway. So it ended with him finding him asleep in the deep sleep. Now, I think I did say this in another video announcing Dixit in the docks, which would be he'd be in a deep sleep because he went down there to check in the first one. Alright, on like, because he looked like, so Solar falling over the edge, but he looks like he was grabbed by something, like a black tentacle. So Raptimov, or the one who asked, goes down to check, and he's not seen again, because like this is the very end, so it's okay, and then he's not seen again, but they're all wondering where he is, and they're like, what the heck? Where is he? And so they end up finding him. They're like, we were that close. Yeah. So, and then they were there, and so he's in the deep sleep. The night mist that consumed Solar was sent back to the Waking Pit, which would be explored in the third installment, which I'm going to talk about now. So, the whole thing, it starts off with him going over to the three, or the palace, the big palace, and he's working, and I don't know, I thought of another way, which would be he'd be sorting out impurities out of subscribe, but then I was like, I mean, is that good? I don't know. He basically, and then he'd be like treated like a freaking slave, not actual like slavery, but like a very low class peasant servant that they have, and he'd just be like, go do this, do that, no. Oh my god, you made a tiny mistake. And then all the other employees like made the same mistake, but they didn't even bat an eye. They're like, you're shaking too much. Ah! And basically he gets tired of it. He's like, alright, you know what? No! Alright, I'm sick and tired of this. I quit. Or something like that. And that's when all hell breaks loose. Basically, the Alpha Night Mist, Solar, who was engulfed just before that very Night Mist that engulfed him, so a basic Night Mist, just before he was engulfed, just before it was sent back to the Waking Pit, which means they're both in the Waking Pit. That Night Mist doesn't, it's just a plot device, literally just to turn him into the Alpha Night Mist. Because his soul was so bad, and it infused with the subscribe that they had there, and it was just, and so with the new installment that I plan on doing, that I'm not gonna say anything about, but there's one key thing with all my monsters, or hopefully, probably all my monsters. I don't know. Maybe I'll make one that does. They revolve around subscribe, this mysterious substance with weird chemistry. If you know, you know, the whole pi atomic number, you know. Alright, yeah, basically, so the Alpha Night Mist comes along, and they're on the roof, and there's like helicopter spotlight or something, I don't know, I just imagine that, and there's a big fight scene, And since the one who asked is finally here, or the Raptimov, boom. And then they're like this, alright, you know what? I'm going to give myself up. I need to go into the waking pit and destroy it from the inside. So he lets himself be engulfed. And there's like a long, slow, and painful process to be turned into a night mist, which is why it took so long for Solar to come back in the third installment, you know? So there was that process. Alright. And he was like going in there. He's in there. But he has to act fast. He has to act fast. And he's going and he's destroying. And he realizes when you're turned into a night mist, it's not you in there. It's like the worst part of you. All those bad thoughts and all those bad things gets torn from your soul. And it gets used and infused with the subscribe. Alright. In the core of the night mist that you become. And it's sent out into the real world. Who knows what, I haven't come up with a reason why this place exists, but you know. And that's why Solar is so bad. And that's why he became the Alpha Night Mist. Because that's how bad he was. So he finds all the good parts of the souls, all the good souls, the people who were engulfed. And like in the direct core, and just imagine this giant pillar of substrate under these like islands of like just purplish black, you know, all gray and dead looking, like islands of grass and thorns, and then just a giant void below, and then in there the giant island with a pillar of substrate just glowing, and that's the only light source in there. And you're just there, and he gets there, and he finds all the souls of the good people, including his parents. Now, I was originally saying, oh, wow, his dad is still alive. He's out there, Siron. But then, I don't know, would it be better to, like, let him be engulfed, or, like, turn into a night mist? And then he just be with his mom and dad, and his dad not still alive? Or, like, what? I don't know. Basically, he destroys the whole waking pit, either way, and all of the good souls finally get to go to heaven, or hell, I don't know. It depends. That still depends on you, but still, all the night mists have their souls defused with the subscribe, and return to their, all the bad stuff returns to their souls, and then they face the, and then whatever your religion is, we pick up from there. We pick up from there as if you had just died any normal day, you know. That's so now I'm leaving that open for your creative interpretation. So yeah, and that would be it. That would be the ending of P7675Y. I think that would be a good ending. And actually, you know, one thing I realized, it's like, I think what might be with the whole voices thing is that your brain, like, you say it, and your brain fills in the gaps of what it knows you should sound like, and you kind of did sound like it-ish, very remotely. So your brain just fills in the gaps. So then when you replay it back, you're like, that's not what I sounded like at all. And I think that might be what it is in all cases, but specifically me. And I just keep making myself look like a fool. Look like every time I post a video of it. Obey the rules, or I'll tear you apart and eat your insides while you're still alive. Oh, it broke. That's no fun. I just think, see, I'm going to be playing this back and edit. I mean, there's not going to be much edit. It's just story time, you know. But I'm just gonna be playing it back, and I'm gonna be hearing, I will tear you apart or something. I don't know. Let's see how much of a fool I've made myself now. Alright, well, it's already 10:30. Or not, wait, what? Why did I think that was 10:30? That's 10. Never mind. Okay. I'll see you later, Dino Navy. What the? I missed the thing. Okay, wait. I'll see you later, Dino Navy. Also, one problem, like I'm literally in process of making the thumbnail of the thing. I realize, there's so much I probably forgot to tell you in that video, in the video you were just watching. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I like currently right now, I forgot what it is, but I'm gonna remember later, and I'm just gonna be like, no! And it's gonna be while I'm in school where I can't record. I'm like, bro, come on. Also, in the thumbnail that I'm making right here again, we have, Cyron's mom in, Astro Energy form, I think I'm calling it. Yeah, I'm calling it Astro Energy. Basically, like, the soul, the spirit in a visible form, temporarily, which will be, used in the next installment. And here is wrapped him up. Oh my gosh, focus! Focus! I know you can do it! Bro. Oh my gosh, this thing is actually goofy, but that's Raptimov's true form, or something. I was originally gonna say it was introduced in the third installment of the P7675Y, but now I think about it, I could try and make use of it in the fourth. Oh wait, no. I keep saying it fourth. It's actually third, because the third installment, but like the third part of the first installment there. So they're two different things, which will be on another planet, obviously. Yeah, and they will be take place in another year. And also, with the Astro Energy form, the true color. So you see all those little like outlines. So the light blue outlines, just change that to black. Anything that's like that white blue. Alright, maybe this will be better. Maybe this will be better, so you can see more detail. Basically, yeah. So anything that's like the light blue and the outline, just change that to black. Keep the sector that they're from the same. So that color, the neon green, so just keep that the same. And then the actual clothing thing is what you change as well. Which, this would be like a darker pink color. I don't know, I can think. So if I just take this, and then just, make it a little darker like that. So think of that, as opposed to that. See, it's much darker and lighter. So yeah, and then I'm gonna draw Cyron's dad, which with the whole. See, even just now I was gonna say something, but I forgot what it was, so I'm gonna rewatch the footage. Okay, so I just realized what it was. The time frame between Solar, I know it said take so long, and it does, but what it was, so I think, okay, it should be in the same year, so it's 2073 that the second part, the potential that didn't happen, second part to P7675Y, alright, that I just talked about, and then that would be in 2073, and then in 2074, we're having, so I'm gonna tell you right now, I plan to bring Dixit and Siron back in the same room together, basically. I don't know. It will make more sense because I know they both technically supposed to canonically be dead, and it's gonna make a whole lot more sense when there's more information out, and I'm less clueless about what the next installment's gonna be about. But what I have to say, the time frame for Siron to be dead in 2074, it has to be the 3rd. But the thing is, if it's 2074, and then the Night Mist, the 3rd thing would have taken place in 2074. But then I was like, wait a second, but it doesn't make any sense, because then he had a whole year. I don't know. Oh wait, no, I'm actually confusing myself now. I remember there was like a whole paradox that I fixed, because it had to do with a certain amount of months. So, okay, the first one takes place in August 2072. Oh yeah, 2073, 2074. So 2nd and 4th. So it would be the second one would actually take place in like very early 2073, like part 2. All right. And then in the late 2073 would be both Dixit and the Docks and the Night Mist thing. So they're both going on. The whole Alpha Night Mist, and then Siron going into the Waking Pit and destroying it from the inside. And then just after that would be the 2074, and that would be the next installment upcoming. And I don't know if that's what I settled on, because remember, I was thinking about this in school, so I couldn't like immediately say this down or like record this so it's here and I remember it. But I think that's the conclusion I came to. So it's not quite every next year, but it's kind of close to that. So I think more information will be happening. Also, one thing I'm scared of is that my world building is like terrible, and I have details in past stories, and then I just forget about them, and then I just make something else up and entirely. And then if I ever get, and then I get famous, and then people are theorizing about my stuff, which I would actually encourage, but obviously, I'm only 400 people, but still also 400 people anyway. People look into it and they find out, wait a second, you said this is this thing and then that's the other thing, which actually, if you find that out, if you're listening to this thing and you watch them back to back and you're like, wait a second, that's not right, please let me know. I would love to rewrite the timeline. And I would actually love to morph it so that it does make any actual sense. So yeah, I pray to God that that's all I have to say, and I'll see you later, DINO&CreepY.